Everybody's having a positive, productive day so far today. If not, I pray that your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, and of course the Most High help you with that. That being said, I really just kind of wanted to come on and chit chat today. I'm going to say the Lord's Prayer before I get started. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Ashe. Okay, so we're going to kind of do things a little different today. I'm having a bundled up in bed kind of day. It's really cold. Everybody here is hunkering down for the winter storm that's coming through. In my area, they're saying we can get anywhere from 4 to 8 inches. And considering that I am in the higher elevations, it's possible that we could even get more than that. So, needless to say, that's what I was doing yesterday and have kind of been doing today is just preparing for that. But that being said, there's been a lot that's gone on in my personal life, yesterday specifically, but I know a lot of times I don't talk about the things that I've been through. And honestly, I had a realization last night that I need to talk about it more. So, we all have a story that goes back the entire times of our lives that form who we are and dictate the way we look at the world and how we process the world, how we understand the world. And, I've never denied that it was 2:22 when I looked at the timer. I've never denied that I'm a late bloomer. I obviously had a lot to overcome and have, while trying to overcome those things, new things or new bricks are being stacked on the pile of things to overcome. And so, as I've always said and will continue to say, the healing process is never done. That will go on through our entire lives. And I'm not too proud to admit that, I'm constantly having to work on things. So, that being said, our verse of the day prayer card is those who love me will keep my word. John 14:23. Okay. We're not going to do any of the pulling research and stuff today. I'm just keeping it simple. Because like I said, I really just kind of wanted to come and chat. So, because I really hadn't planned on doing videos over the weekend. I was going to take a break. But nonetheless, I had deep childhood wounding that I didn't realize I had until I was much older in life. For a long time, I always believed, and I don't say this expecting sympathy. I'm just saying it because it's a part of my journey. I believed that it was all my fault, that there was something wrong with me. And to this day, every once in a while, that little demon will creep back up on my shoulder. But I've gotten a lot better at fighting it off. And, I really have a lot of that fight and that strength in me because of all the things that I've been through. But here recently, especially, from 2020 up until this point, which really you could go back even further than that. But 2020, a lot of things happened in my life. And of course, leading up to that, uh, not only in my internal, my energy, my thought patterns, but the external too, like things that were constantly going on in my world. And there we go. Inner harmony, third chakra, solar plexus. I was just talking about the inner, wasn't I? Okay. Hold on. I can't read with my glasses on that close. My glasses are for far away, not for up close. Inner harmony. I trust my innate wisdom and respond accordingly. I do not allow my mind to create doubt or to override my strong gut feelings. I accept and express my feelings while accepting the feelings of others. I am at peace with myself and those around me. I do not harbor unrealistic expectations of myself or of others. I release the need to comfort others. To control others. I said comfort though, so I release the need to nurture, to take care of people, comfort, because that's what I said, but it says control on the card. Okay. My personal power is free from ego and from any desire to manipulate or exploit situations or people. The foundation of all my thoughts and actions is trust in myself. If you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? Nobody. If you can't even trust yourself, then you don't have the capacity to trust other people. Now, that's not to say that's the only reason why we don't trust other people, but, it's definitely a contributing factor. All right, we'll get a Wild Offering Oracle affirmation. So the chakra of the day is the third chakra, the solar plexus. I want to say that's like in your stomach region. The color yellow. And if you notice here, our prayer card is yellow and the chakra card is yellow. So the color yellow. In the old Western days, if you called somebody yellow, that meant they were a coward. But the other day when I was watching a video, the guy was talking about it sucks to be yellow. And I don't necessarily know what he was referring to. So something significant about the color yellow. The color of sunshine. Oh, that was quick. Positivity. I think we just got that the other day. If you can find even one thing to be grateful for, it will restore you to the light. Please, dear God, let me always feel gratitude for something, even a tiny thing, in even the hardest situations. Even if that thing that you're having to show gratitude for is a lesson learned. It's hard to do that, but just like with anything else, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Spaciousness. Color blue. Butterfly. Transformation. Blue is the color of Archangel Michael. Blue is also a healing color. What do I no longer need? Help me, God, to release whatever people, places, or things, or thought patterns, that's my addition, that drain my vital essence, and show me what will fill me with enthusiasm and joy. So, releasing the old, making room for the new, transformation, death and rebirth. There it is, striving. It keeps coming out. We keep seeing this card, striving. Eventually, the individual ego's drive to make things happen falls away, replaced with a relaxed, trusting openness to answers as they arise. Thank you, Divine, for letting me move with the flow. So, trusting in divine timing, accepting things how they are, not trying to force things. All right, let's get a grief affirmation. I may end up having to do this in a few different settings because I am waiting for a ride to the store. So I will have to leave at some point. But that being said, going back to just the chit chat, perfect timing. Grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. That may be them right there. It was 11:11 when I looked at the timer. Okay, well, that's a good place to stop anyways, because that's all the affirmation cards. So I'll leave it there, and then I'll come back here in a bit and do the Mary Magdalene cards, and we'll continue more with the chit chat, because there was a brief time, it's been quite a while back, where I got the courage to start talking about the things that were happening to me, and then it got worse. So I really kind of quit talking about it. But there's some significant changes that have happened. Just to kind of touch on it, back in 2023, I was arrested on false charges, and I've been dealing with that ever since. So it's coming to the time where something's fixing to happen with that. And just to put it politely, the higher ups have not done anything as far as evidence or, investigating the whole story, instead of just taking somebody's word for something, because that's what they did. One person said she did it, and that was it. That's all it took for them to literally tear my life apart, which I was already in a great phase of transformation. There was a lot happening in my life. I was dealing with the stuff with my son. I had just sold my property. I was trying to get on the road, and then ended up getting robbed and drugged and raped and robbed again. And so, a lot was going on during that time. And the legal charges were basically like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm just going to be bluntly honest with you. They almost broke me. I almost broke during that time. Mentally, physically. I did break financially. They ruined any chance of me getting an income at all. Nobody wants to hire a criminal. They definitely don't want a criminal coming into their homes, or somebody that's just suspected of being a criminal. But, this is the type of world that you're guilty until proven innocent. And it's supposed to be the other way around. It's supposed to be you're innocent until proven guilty. And so, anyways, there was a whole series of events that led up to that final event, the straw that broke the camel's back. And I made several different police reports, and nothing was done at all. Nothing was done about anything. Me being drugged and raped, me being harassed, my possessions being stolen, none of it. I think there's 4 or 5 different police reports I made, and nothing was ever done. Threats on my life, nothing was ever done about any of it. Oh. I guess that wasn't them. It has forced me to change my perspective on a lot of things. You know, when it comes down to it, I was actually kind of naive. In a lot of ways. And I still am in a lot of ways. But I'm learning. You know, it's been very painful. It's been very uncomfortable. It's been very disheartening. The level that people will go to just because they don't like you or because you have something that they don't have. Whether that be a material thing, a character trait, a physical trait, you know, misery loves company. They're not willing to better their lives, so they try to drag you down because they don't want you to live better than they do. They don't want you to be better than they are. We all have the ability to be to that level, but we also have free will. So if you choose to be a shitty person, why do other people have to suffer for that? Because you want everybody to be like you so you don't feel bad for being the way you are? And in some cases, people do it very deceptively. Smile in your face all the while trying to take your place. Backstabbers. Backstabbers. Yeah. It happens all the time. Oh, well, we're only human. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to trap yourself in that box, go ahead. But humans are more powerful than we know. They've just blinded us and programmed us to think less of ourselves. All the while they know and they're using their power against us. That being said, you know, I talking about the death and rebirth that was referred to in our affirmations today and that, you know, just came up. I've lost everything except for a truck full of, you know, physical possessions, material possessions. And half of those are, you know, my craft tools and stuff, you know, the stuff that I use to make my products and everything else. But, and I'm talking family, everybody. I lost everything. And don't get me wrong, I've made some pretty bad choices in my life, but none that warrants anything that's been done to me, because in reality, it's nobody's place to judge me. You know, but the mistakes that I've made, none of them were life-threatening in any way, shape, or form. And in most cases, I hurt myself, not other people. You know, yeah, they were bad choices, but in the end, it didn't hurt. Those choices didn't affect and hurt other people. You know, but the reality is if I would have had love and encouragement and support and motivation from my surroundings, I might have not been so hard on myself. Which, no, I'm not trying to lay that at anybody's door, but, that typically is the job of a parent. And for me, it just shows the type of person you are. To sit back and watch somebody suffer and struggle in whatever way, mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, to watch somebody struggle and know that you can help that person and you don't, right there, that tells me what kind of person you are. I don't need to know anything other than that. Because that tells me that you're selfish, you're unempathetic. Darling, quit. Darling. It just tells me what kind of person you are. I don't need it. But it took me going through and continuing to go through the things that I've been dealing with to learn all that. Because I was very naive and I'd just let anybody into my life and then they'd freaking tear it apart. Whether they did it intentionally or unintentionally, it was just them being a part of my life or lack thereof. My family, I wanted them to be a part of my life, but I got tired of begging for people to love me and forgive me and understand me and accept me. And I was tired of begging for that. My whole life revolved around that. What do I have to do to make you love me? And I always used to say that I get addicted to people, not drugs. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not, I don't have most of my unhealthy addictions are food related, making unhealthy food choices. And people. Well, back in the day, when I heard the term codependency, 2220 on the timer. That's 222 again. I thought that meant like physical, financial dependence on people. But it took me going through a lot of the trauma that I went through. Hold on, I got to turn this hotspot on. I need to clean this phone. It's been lagging a lot. I need to make some space on it, I guess, and clean the file system. I've noticed there's been a little bit of delay on some of my videos too. Okay. Confirmation. Well, that doesn't really count because I just connected to the, never mind. Let me read this before I start talking again. I've already kind of gotten off track. I should have waited to do this. In numerology, the number 222 is considered an angel number, which is a repeating number sequence that some believe carries a special message from the divine realm. The number 222 is said to symbolize balance, harmony, and spiritual alignment. You can have a variety of meanings, including a sign to create better connections, assess the value of your relationships, foster good partnerships. Career, a sign to collaborate, get your team on the same page, and grow your emotions and skills. General, a time for reflection, focusing on duality and being more open, expressive, and vulnerable. Finances, a sign of good fortune and finances. Soul purpose, a reminder to work towards your soul purpose. True love, a sign that true love is coming or that a soulmate is near. Personal growth, a reminder to stay focused and trust the process. Inner voice, a reminder that your inner voice holds valuable insights that can guide you on your journey. There you go. 222 in a nutshell. So, it took going through a lot of the things that I've been through to learn a lot of those lessons. And unfortunately, a lot of lessons I had to learn the hard way, because usually I had to repeat the same mistakes multiple times until I finally got it right. You know what I'm saying? Because I was having, for so long, I spent my energy outside of me, and it took going through a lot in the beginning. A lot of it really started when my son was taken away from me when he was 2.5. And that's a whole nother story together altogether. That's when, for me, my family began to fall apart. I already had a struggling relationship with my mother, which affected the relationship with all my other immediate family, because basically, I mean, I don't want to say that they took sides, but they did. That's exactly what they did. If my mom shunned me, the rest of the family shunned me, period, except for my grandparents. Um, and of course, when their health started going bad, or I should say, even when they moved away, I didn't have them anymore. But in reality, the family will do it quicker to you than anybody, especially if they benefit from it in some shape or form. And my family, at least, well, in a nutshell, my family is very materialistic, and they're very judgmental, and they're very secretive, and they're very, like, I think my family carries a lot of karma from other shit. I'm not really sure what, but nonetheless, um, so it, that was the first thing that really happened, is I had to walk away from all my family, you know, which, like I said, that was always a struggling relationship. But when they played an active role in my son being taken away from me, never gave me any kind of explanation, you know, made it so in my life I couldn't even fight for my son, you know, because they kicked me out of my home. And that's a whole nother story too. That's like a little branch off side note. All those situations have background stories that were going on that led up to those points. But when that happened, that was my true first taste of being like completely on my own. Up until that point, I had never been on my own. I had always been in a relationship, which my first adult relationship was a 10-year long relationship. So from 16 to 26, I was in the same relationship and I was never alone. So I didn't know how to live on my own like that. Well, so that's a whole nother list of lessons that I learned through all the things that I went through. Now, unfortunately, they've made it to where, I haven't been able to have a relationship with my son, my one and only child. I got a tubal after I had him because I was older when I had him. I was 27 when he was born. Uh, and at that time in my life, I thought that was the best decision. And I know now, it most definitely was, because my life didn't turn out anything like I expected it to. And it's still not where I want it to be. When I sold my property, the plan was just to buy property in a different county. And through a series of unfortunate events, that didn't happen. And uh, it's been a battle. It's been a struggle. I've been taken advantage of in so many different ways. I've been hurt in so many different ways. And I realized yesterday, when I got the phone call that I got about what's going on currently, that, there's literally all day yesterday, like my whole body was shaking. I was having muscle spasms, and then this morning I woke up really sick at my stomach. I've been that way. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever had a panic attack, and I know everybody's panic attacks are different, but for me, one of the symptoms of my panic attacks is like my whole body starts shaking. Like, not just my hands, it's my whole body. Like, I have to try to make my body stay still. I get really cold. I exert a lot of energy when I do that. And then it leads into me getting sick, like physically sick at my stomach, sometimes even throwing up, so when I was arrested for the stuff that I'm dealing with, uh, which I sent it to trial, and that's where we're at now, where that's fixing to happen. And anyways, they're trying to say that they don't have any evidence. Well, if they don't have any evidence to confirm the story that I've told them, they don't have any evidence at all, because they haven't done any. There's missing body cam footage. There's no body cam footage from when I was arrested. There's no body cam footage from when they interviewed me while I was in custody. Copper, stop. There's no investigation of questioning the people to verify my story. Nothing. Like, I've been having to do work on my own case. And now it's a matter of, am I even going to get a chance to defend myself? Because I don't have the money to pay for an attorney. I'm working with a public defender, and I don't know if they have limitations on how much that they can do, but in my past experience, that's where you're going to get the least amount of effort, is from a public defender, if for no other reason, because they have such a heavy workload. And even then, if you don't have a good one, you're screwed. So, right now for me, a lot of this is, I think, fixing to come to a tower moment or another plateau. You might as well say I've been on probation ever since I got arrested. Because once I got arrested, I lost the few streams of income that I had. I lost. I was robbed while I was in custody. So when I came out of custody, I had no money, a lot of my gear, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, was stolen. So and then it just like snowballed. And so I've been in a state of stagnation. Haven't been able to get a job, haven't been able to be on the road because I got the ticket and couldn't pay the ticket, and they suspended my license because of it. Make it make sense. You get the ticket, they know you're homeless and unemployed, and that's why you can't pay the ticket. So then they give you another ticket, and you have to pay both, plus satisfy the needs of what the ticket was for, which in my case was insurance. And so because I couldn't do that, they suspended my license. And yeah, I've been looking into that whole right to travel, but that all costs money. You got to go file paperwork and, da-da-da-da-da. And even then, if you do that, you're still taking the risk of getting pulled over and possibly going to jail. And I can't afford to take that risk once I get back out on the road. So it's been a very uphill battle. And the more time I spent, kind of breaking it down and trying to figure out why these things were happening. And in reality, you could say that it stems back to my family. But to make it an even smaller circle, it stems back to my ex. I left my ex in 2020. It was a very toxic, abusive, manipulative, poverty-stricken relationship. He tore my life apart very quickly, which that's just as much my fault as it is his. That was things in me that I needed to heal. My emotional codependency, my people-pleasing tendencies, I had to fix in me to stop allowing those things to happen. But at that whole time, I'm battling my family, putting that same unhealthy thought patterns and unhealthy choices towards my family as well. desperately seeking some kind of validation, some kind of acknowledgement of at least how I feel. Even if you don't agree with how I feel, at least acknowledge that this is happening. But none of that ever happened. And now for me, it's like the same scenario. One storyline with my family, one storylines in my relationships. No matter which relationship it was, they were all toxic. And then my own personal life and the legal aspects of all of it. I made it a point to turn my life around and stop hanging out with certain kinds of people because they were contributing to certain behaviors that I was participating in. Which, whether that was drug use, just toxic behavior in general, illegal behavior, whatever. I went a long time where I didn't get involved in stuff like that because I wanted my record to clear off from where I had done stupid shit when, I was 18 and 20 years old. And, you think you're out there living life like, I only got one to live. Let's just, take it to the fullest, take it to the max, And I lived my life like that for a long time. But when I had my son, I made a promise to myself that I was going to turn my life around in that way. Well, then they started attacking me other ways. That was my family doing that. Well, now it's certain individuals and the legal system because they don't care. They don't care that if you really look at the situation closely, I was being harassed, gang stalked, raped, drugged, robbed, and set up. It was 100% a setup what they did to me. And all I have is my word. And now they've waited so long and not done any kind of investigation that any of the evidence that could or would have been found is gone. No fingerprints, no video, no eyewitnesses, nothing. It's all because one person said she did it. So, that's a tough place to be in life, and especially when you can't continue living your life while it's happening. I mean, I did good there for a little while. I made it work the best that I could, but eventually that tower fell. That death happened. And if you want to look at it in a certain way, it was a death of the old me. Because I will never go back to that person that I used to be. I will never validate people like that in my life. I will never allow people like that in my life. I will no longer question my gut instincts, my intuition, the messages that I get from outside sources. I will never, ever, ever again in my life question any of that. Because me questioning, giving people the benefit of the doubt, taking people's word for it, not getting, written documentation or, just documenting things in general. I will never be that person again. If it ain't done by the book, I'm not doing it. And if you don't like that, then that means you had something up your sleeve and you were going to try to deceive me in some way, shape, or form, which means I don't want to be doing business with you anyways. No matter what kind of business that is. I no longer let people pull at my heartstrings. Yes, I sympathize and empathize with people, but I no longer let that be a gateway for them to take my energy and to pull me down to their level. All right, we got judgment. The whole point is to be human. The third power, humility is my greatest strength. I think it was just 2 that flipped over. So we'll get one more. This is the Mary Magdalene Oracle deck. Oh, Let me open these blinds real quick and let some sunshine in. There we go. But, you know, we all have to learn different lessons. And, you know, if there's one thing, you know, I say often that, you know, yes, forgiveness is hard, but self-forgiveness for me is and was the hardest part, you know, and I've gotten to the point where I have to decide to forgive myself for being naive, for being gullible, for leading with my heart and, you know, leaving my brain somewhere in the dumpster somewhere. Union. Myself and soul are one. That may be them. I'll try to read these real quick. I may have to come back and read the cards. We'll see. I wasn't going to do them, and then I decided to, and there's union. Okay, myself and soul are one. In chapter 5 of Mary's Gospel, the disciples are terrified in the wake of Christ's crucifixion. They fear they will be killed as well if they're caught by the Roman Empire. I've always seen this message as if it were a scene from a film. I can imagine so vividly the dread they must have felt. I can imagine the comments about the threat to their own lives getting louder until the fear becomes palpable in the air. Then Mary stood up, her gospel reads, and I can see this so clearly. I can see her standing up among a sea of disciples, all huddled together on the ground, feeling defeated and afraid. Then Mary stood up and greeted them. She tenderly kissed them all and said, "Brothers and sisters, do not weep. Do not be distressed, nor be in doubt, for his grace will be with you, sheltering you." Mary 5, verses 4 and 6. Mary stood up for the disciples in the moment of pure terror and became the presence of love among them. Mary stood up in the midst of great fear to be the love that Christ had been among them. This moment of Mary's gospel demonstrates what it means to be in union, and it's evidence of her leadership in the earliest form of Christianity. Mary goes on to say that as a community of brothers and sisters, we should praise his greatness, for he has united us and made us true human beings. Chapter 5, verse 7 and 8. Christ lived in a state of union. The unified, Aramaic for the unified one. He had unified his egoic self, his full humanity, and his divinity, his eternal soul. He had become fully human and fully divine, the child of true humanity. Mary, in this state of union, stood up in the midst of panic to be a presence of love when love was most needed. And this is what Mary reminds us that we can do as well. We can practice living in a state of union by returning again and again to the soul that sits like a treasure here inside our very human hearts. We can practice becoming the presence of love when love is most needed. The soul voice meditation. How can I stand up like Mary to be a presence of love in this moment? I'm waiting to see if that's them or not. Yes. All right. I'll end it there. 444 on the timer, and I'll come back and finish these later. Have a blessed day. I almost pushed the wrong button.